Yeah, well, I hope it's recording to my external hard drive now. Okay, so as I said, the exam is, the questions will be mixed. You can have in one question, it can cover geology, ecology, and say mammals, okay, or biomes in one question. Then also very important to know is that you cannot go back. So don't think you can leave a question open for later. It's question for question. You can't go back. When you finish with the last question of the exam paper, you're done. Okay, it won't allow you to go back. Is there any other questions with regards to that? Cornell, you can talk to me if you have any other questions with regards to it.
No, it's okay. All good.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Janine, the venue for Cape Town, have you checked on the internet? Have they set the venue there or not?
They are not yet. I mean, like 2 weeks ago, I think there was a venue, but now there's nothing anymore. So yeah, I couldn't find it anymore. And then Ashley said, yeah, that the usual one is not available. But I don't know which one now is available.
Okay, they will definitely get you guys a venue, that's for sure. And I'm sure that they will splash it all over all social media and probably send you guys an email as well.
Okay, cool.
But if it hasn't come through to you, say by tomorrow, on a Friday, they finish at 2 o'clock. The offices close at 2. So
yeah,
let's make a deadline for about 12 tomorrow. If there's any problems, I'm going to type you guys my phone number here now.
Yeah.
There you go. There's my phone number. And then you're welcome to WhatsApp me and I will see what I can do.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. You just check some of the other questions. Jamie, how many questions per section? That depends. It differs from paper to paper. It depends on the points per section. Now, the written exam, for the online exam, I can't say you because they mix it up. But for the written exam per section, it has been between 10 and 15 marks per module. It is 150 marks for the written exam. And so, yeah, it's anything from 5. There might be, I think they've gone away with that now. There might be 1 module or 2 modules with 5. So it's usually between between 3 and 6 questions per module. And then they also would do tables that you need to fill in. Okay, so where there's pieces blanks that you need to fill in, or they give you 2 things to compare and you need to fill it in, or you do that cross, so column A, column B, and which one fits to which, and those can make up quite a lot of questions. So let's say, for example, biomes can ask you a question for 2 marks, define a biome or explain in your own words what a biome is. And then the second question can be a table that you have to match column A to column B, and that will be 8 marks. So it's 10 marks in total, and it's only 2 questions. Jamie, does that help? Okay, let's see who else. Are the exam questions similar to the workbook, study workbook? Janine, not really, no. The workbook is designed to help you study, okay? And I know most people just write the questions from the manual into their workbook, but it is actually designed for you to, after you've studied that module, to go to the workbook and use it almost like a test. Okay.
Okay.
Most people don't do that. So they're not going to ask the same questions that is in the workbook. There might be here and there a question that is very similar or even the same, but I would say maybe 10% of the questions in the exam.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Byron, in some of the quizzes, for example, section on grass, the scientific names were asked. Do you need to know? No. For NQF2, you don't need to know any scientific names. You just need to know what a scientific name is, what languages are used for scientific names, Greek and Latin, and which ranks within the taxonomic classification is used for scientific names, genus and species epithet. So that's all you need to know about scientific names. Okay. Okay, any other questions generally about the exam? I think I've covered all of these that are typed now. Okay, can I close that section? If you do a question pops up during our session, please ask. Okay, don't feel you can't ask now. I'm just trying to structure it a bit. On ethical guiding, any specific questions? Nothing. You guys all happy with ethical guiding? Anybody want to take a chance on typing in for me? What are the 3 attributes of an ethical guide? Or anybody that wants to pop in and give the answer. Nobody. You guys must work with me. There's no such thing as I'm wrong and then that's bad. If you're wrong with something, it means you have the opportunity to learn something.
You must be passionate, knowledgeable, and have unwavering ethics.
Okay, respect. Very good. The word respect must also get in there. Okay, so passion, knowledge, and respect. So now think how many different ways can they ask that question? They can give you a scenario, for example, of an unethical guide and then say, give 4 reasons on why you think this guide is unethical. Then you must think of respect, passion, and knowledge and see if you can see where the guide is not respectful to nature and his guests, where the guide doesn't show passion, and where the guy is not sharing knowledge. Okay, so that is a way they can ask that question. They can ask you what attributes should a ethical guide have, then it's just those 3. They can give you a sentence and leave one of the attributes out. So for example, respect. So they'll have passion and knowledge and then an open space. Okay, so ethical guiding has got a lot to do with being an ethical guide, knowing what is required of an ethical guide, what is the aim of a guide. Okay. Most students, because I mark a lot of papers, and a lot of them would just write, you take people through nature and you interpret nature to people. But it's not just that, it's also cultural, it's the beauty of the country, it's folklore, it's traditional beliefs, it's all of those things that you must also work into that statement. Okay. Then you can also expect things like, you're going to go on a drive, what would you cover in a pre-brief? Or when you're having coffee before you go out on your drive or activity, what guest checks would you do? Okay, so everything with regards to guiding, not so much the specific animals or plants or clouds or weather. Okay, are you guys okay with that? Or is there any questions? Okay. Yes, no problem.
I just want, I think a lot of us do the online exams. So we do go now through the models, would you also kind of guide us through the online tests, kind of?
Yeah, the online test is really, who am I speaking to now?
It was Cornell.
Cornell, okay. Cornell, it's difficult for me to guide you through the online exam because the online exam is a database of, I don't know, let's make it 2,000 questions, okay? And when you select the online exam, it randomly chooses questions. So it's very difficult for me to prepare you for what to expect on an online exam because it depends on what questions you're going to get. It's a little bit easier for me to prepare you for a written exam because it's module per module. But the online exam is a little bit different. But the questions has to be similar. It can't be more difficult for online. Do you understand? All your questions for online is going to be multiple choice. So you choose 1 out of 5 answers, for example. So the right answer is in there somewhere. You must just identify the right answer. Does that help, Cornell?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, what I would like to help you guys with is things that you don't understand or certain sections that you have problems with. If I can help you understand the work, then it doesn't matter how they ask it, you will be able to answer the question. Because if you understand something, you remember it. If you don't understand it, you learn it like a parrot, you're going to forget it. And especially for multiple choice questions, they can confuse you easily. So if there's
Just a question in this regard, Michelle. So you said, okay, the online one is going to be multiple choice, but the one that we write, like we've literally have to write, right?
Yeah.
Like there won't be multiple choice. Okay.
No, that's a written exam. Just to let you guys know, my name is Letitia. I'm just using Michelle's login. Okay, no problem.
I'm so sorry.
No problem, because it's Michelle is the MD of FGASA. That's definitely not me.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, the written exam is there's maybe 1% questions that are multiple choice in the written exam. The rest is all you have to write the answer down. Remember, for NQF2, definitions is very important. And I know that's quite frustrating because definitions, people are feeling, yes, you know, must I write it word for word like in the manual? No. Learn it, see if you can understand the definition. Let's take, for example, the definition of ecology, okay? Think of a house. A house is a roof, it's got a foundation, it's got walls, but inside the house you have humans, you have a dog, you have a cat, you have a parakeet. Outside you have a vegetable garden, you have a septic tank, you have a dustbin, and try and relate an ecosystem with that, because that's exactly what an ecosystem is. Your house is a little ecosystem with you and your family in it. So if you can understand it in that way, then it doesn't matter how they ask you to define or give examples or a multiple choice question about ecology. If you understand ecology, the definition thereof, then they can ask it in any way they want. A lot of people try and learn it word for word and try and remember certain words and then try and build something around it. It's a very dangerous way to learn because you're going to forget it. And if you're going to be a guide, you definitely need a solid foundation about ecology. The theory is there to help you when you do the practical work. You need to understand nature to be able to guide people through it. Okay, I see some questions coming through. Let me just quickly see. Okay, Justine, how many questions is there in the online exam? I think it's 200. I'm not sure. It also depends on the how many marks per question. Do we have to know all the principles of guiding? All 11? No. I will, for the written exam, learn 4. Okay, it's usually 2 or 4. On the online exam, they'll probably put, say, 5 or 6 down and 2 will be wrong or something like that. I don't know what the online exam looks like, because as I say, it's a database of questions, and then the computer draws a bunch of questions for the exam. So every single exam is different. Does that help, Jamie? Mike, how much time did she spend with the animal before speeding off? What, there jumps now. Mike, can you just explain to me what you want to know there? Is that just an example of unethical behavior or ethical behavior, or do you have a question there?
It's just an example, which I've taken from the textbook.
Okay.
It's an example. So it's one of the things in many ethnic guides. Basically, firstly, chasing a leopard is one of the things that on ethnic. Basically, it's just something that things that you use your head to think about.
Okay, thank you for that, Mike. Okay, Byron, is the learner manual book and the art of nature guiding book equally important to study? The learner manual has got how many modules is there? 16. So 15 of those 16 modules. So I would say the learner manual is the most important one. The art of nature guiding is just one module, and that's the first one. Okay, so that would be about 10 marks of the exam. So the other 140 for the written exam is about the other modules. Does that help, Byron?
Sorry, Letitia, I just wanted to check on that.
Yeah.
So in because I don't have the physical books. I've got the online material.
Yes, the ebooks.
And and for every section, so if, say for example geology, there's step 1, read nature guide learner manual, and then step 2, read the art of nature guiding in geology. So for every module, there seems to be 2 books to study. They seem very similar. I just wanted to know if they're both equally important, or if we should mainly focus on the learner manual.
I would suppose the art of nature guiding, I know it's a new book that came in. Okay, so I'm actually completely unsure how they're going to ask questions. Up to the last exam, the end of 2022, they haven't asked any questions out of art of nature guiding. So if they're going to ask that in this exam, it will be the first time ever. So then I will be for the first time to see what type of questions they would ask. But I would say that will have, again, more to do with module 1, which is taking your guests on a guiding experience. When you're doing the geology module, there might be a question of how would you introduce geology to your guests. I think there you must just use your common sense. You know, I'm not gonna what example can I use? I'm not going to pick up a hand of soil and ask people, what soil is this? What rock, from which rock did the soil come from? But I can pick up the soil to explain. Maybe have a granite rock in the one hand and have a hand of sandy soil, and then explain that the rock weathered, and that is how I got the soil. So I think there it would be maybe a little bit of common sense on how you would introduce it.
Yes. Okay. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Do they still also use the guiding skills manual for the examination?
Sorry, Mike, can you just repeat that?
With the guiding skills manual, is that also used in the exam?
Are you still talking about the old guiding skills, the one with the
grey cover.
with the Namib Desert in the front?
The guiding skills learner manual, the one for the one.
Oh yeah, it's now. Yeah, well, out of there is your, what is the ethical guide, your checks, your briefing, your vehicle checks, your the first aid. What first aid do you need? For how long is it valid? What vehicle checks would you do before you go? Communication, navigation, survival, all of those things are in that manual.
Okay, thanks. So the one I've used in the past. I've used it always in the past. I've used it.
Oh, you see, the thing is, there used to be questions out of that manual, but now they've got a new manual, the Art of Guiding.
Yeah, I've got that one as well, but I got that one last year, and I managed, I think, the same question last year. Were they asking any questions? Because I had to postpone my exam from last year due to COVID.
Yes.
So I managed to get a reappointment for the 25th of Feb. So that's why I've decided to listen in again to see if there's anything more I can pick up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really not sure how they're going to ask questions out of the Art of Guiding. If they're going to, I'm going to also, when I look at that paper the first time, I will also be the first time I see how they ask the question. So from the next workshop, I'll be able to prepare people better if I know how.
I see that the thing, the art of guiding is more in more description of the things, not like the green book and the gray book. That one goes into deeper, much more depth of and it goes basically. All the modules look like it's like a jigsaw puzzle, you know, it works in your certain areas. But as you say, it's the asked question is asked. Yeah, you see, I don't really think that they're going to ask a lot of questions out of Art of Guiding, because a lot of people that are still writing don't even have that book yet. They're still on the old books. So it would be quite unfair to ask a lot of questions out of Art of Nature Guiding if the people didn't have the book. So I personally don't think they're going to ask a whole lot of questions like that. I think it will still be about ethical guiding, client checks, vehicle checks, those type of things. I probably will. Like they usually do ask those type of questions.
Yeah. Now, where would you set up a camp? What would you look out for? Those type of things. How would you test for poisonous berries, and how can you find water, and how can you find north, those type of things, or direction?
Yeah, thanks very much, Anna. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Okay, can we jump to module 2, geology? Sorry that I'm chasing, but 9 o'clock is load shedding, then my signal goes off. Any specific questions? Sorry?
I'm so sorry, just before we move on, just quickly.
Yeah.
You mentioned some questions there, like how to test if berries are poisonous or direction or anything. Is that in any of our material to learn, or is that just like common sense stuff?
You see, that again was in the old ethical guiding manual. So I don't know if they're going to take that out now, because as far as I know, people don't get that manual anymore.
Yeah.
So,
that's all I was just curious.
So it would be a bit unfair.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but if you eat something and you feel nauseous or you get a headache, then stop eating it, you know. It's a little bit of common sense there.
Agreed, yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys, can we move on to geology? Is there any specific questions with regards to geology? You're welcome to switch on your audio and talk to me. If you don't want to type, it's fine. Nobody. Everybody fine with geology?
Can you explain to me the more in the structure of rocks determining what type of soil types?
Do you want to know what soil will be derived from a rock type? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, you determine what type of soils are found there and the types, and determine type of growth and that type of thing. Can you explain that a bit more detail, please? I know that
I'm just trying to
it's
figure
rock,
out what
it's a
you're
rock.
asking.
type it's a sand, the soil, then it's that one and that one and that one. I just get a struggle. Sometimes I get a bit of a blank when I try and study that one.
Okay, I'm going to explain what I think you're asking. So let's take two rock types that they usually use as examples in the exam, because it's the two major rock types, especially in the savanna biome, which is the largest biome, for those that didn't know. So if you have a granite rock, it is an intrusive igneous rock, and you have basalt, which is an extrusive igneous rock. If somebody doesn't know what that is, please just pop the question, then I can explain. And if it weathers down, say the granite weathers down, because granite is formed in the crust over a long period of time, it makes larger crystals. It has more time to build larger crystals. So therefore, the sand that will form from the granite rock will have large crystals in it, and therefore it is sandy soil. Now, in sandy soil, because it doesn't retain water, if you take a bucket and you put river sand in it and you pour water, the water is going to end at the bottom of the bucket. Do you agree, Mike?
I agree, yes.
Okay, so it doesn't retain water. So obviously the plants that will grow in there would be plants that have deep taproot systems to anchor themselves. The water with the nutrients will be at the bottom, say where the parent rock is. So the plants need to get the nutrients from there. Or you have a deep taproot system with shallow roots, lateral roots, that can quickly grab the nutrients as it ciphers through the sand. Something like a marula tree, for example. So these types of soils you usually get on higher ground, but don't mistake, and you will also get it on lower ground, but that is usually due to erosion, that it was washed down. Okay, if you dig deeper, you'll see you'll have more finer soils there.
And how is clay formed then? You know, you've got your sandy soil and you get your other soil. Is clay type is clay. How does the clay one?
Okay, clay is usually a mixture of all your finer soils and very high mineral content. That's why you don't get a lot of plants growing in it, except for, sorry, I'm just admitting somebody, for ground cover, but you usually don't get bushes and like magic worries or raisin bushes or things growing in clay soil, because it's got a very high content of minerals. So that forms usually in pans and dams, low-lying areas, because it washes down when it rains through the sandy soils, and it ends up in a lower-lying area, and that then forms mud. Did you get that, Mike?
I get it, thanks, yeah.
Okay. So
if you look in the textbook as well, it actually explains to you the Pretorius Corp Sauerfeld, you know, all the different, what they call it, the cantina. Explains explains to this, it's like your granite outcrop, mid slope, foot slope,
no, it's this cantina. Is that what you're talking about?
That's the one, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is, you've got your granite parent rock here. I can't really see where I'm pointing, so I hope it's right. You will have your sandy soils there. Then you have a seep line over here where all your nutrients and the water and your finer soils and minerals will seep through. And then in the low-lying areas is where you're going to get your loam soils and your muddy soils and things like that.
Okay. Now it makes more sense.
Okay, that's a pleasure. Anything else on geology, guys? I usually yes.
The importance of soils. Did I ask anything about the importance of soils?
Yes. Things like, what are the attributes of soils? Definitely. Why is soil important? I think you can at least think logically of three things. You guys must be careful not to learn the manual as if it's some science book. Okay, a lot of these things, if somebody had to ask you that before you studied the FGASA manual, you probably would have been able to give three answers at least. But now, because you're studying it, you're trying to remember the 5 or 6 points that's in the manual. Just think of it logically.
I'm just trying to think, you know, I know it's not supposed to be. I'm just thinking of the exams I've written in the past. You know, some of the questions that I got wrong in the examination I wrote.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be spoken to, but you know, it's these questions which I struggled with when I wrote basically the theoretical exam at FGASA.
Mhm. What type of questions did you get wrong, Mike?
They essentially they asked you one question. What is the something with the soils? Something to do with soils. It's the what's it? The pedosphere.
Pedosphere. Yeah.
That's what that question either asked me, and I got that one wrong. So I don't know
Okay.
what
Did they ask you what is the pedosphere, or did they ask you which sphere deals with soil?
They asked you what was the main thing of soils. I think it was. It said here. It says okay. There's basically what is the scientific name for soils, or what not? It's something about to.
Soils don't have scientific names. Only organisms have scientific names.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sphere that handles with soils that falls under the lithosphere is the pedosphere. That's all the soils of the world. The lithosphere is soils and rocks and dust and all of that. Okay, anything that is derived from rocks. That would be the lithosphere. The pedosphere falls within the lithosphere.
And then the other one is a hydrosphere.
Hydrosphere is water. Okay, if we look at the spheres, you have 4 major spheres in the world, or that makes up the world. Okay, the Earth. You have the lithosphere, which is all rock related. Then you have the atmosphere, which is all gas related. So like your nitrogens, carbon dioxides, oxygen, ozone, all of that. Then you have the hydrosphere, which is all forms of water, from ice to liquid water to vapor. And then you have the biosphere, which is all the living organisms. Okay, so that's your 4. And within those 4, you get subsections like the pedosphere or the chrysosphere or things like that. Chrysosphere is all the ice. Pedosphere is all the soils. Does that help?
That helps a lot, thanks.
Okay, I have a question here. There are 3 major groups of rocks. What are they? After naming the rocks, do I really need to explain them? If the question says explain, I don't know what your name is, it just says iPhone. Then yes, then you have to explain it. Do you want me to go through that, or was that just the question? If they say name the 3 major rock types, then you just name them. If they say name and explain, or name and give an example, then yeah, that's the question. Then you have to explain.
They always say there's always questions asked on those.
Yeah, rock types are very important. Okay, let me just quickly run through geology of what is important. The composition of the Earth. You need to be able to label the composition of the Earth. Okay. You need to be able to define a mineral, fossil fuel, and what is that other thing's name? Element, gold, silver, and those things. What is that called now? Can't remember now. Come on, Letitia.
Isn't it rock forming materials?
Yeah, that's minerals. No,
that's
it's a what is that element thing, man? Why can't I get to the name now? I'm quickly scanning here through the manual.
Native elements are
native element. There we go. Oh, thank you, Nadia. I hope I said that right. Yeah, you need to be able to know what is a native element. Let me just admit somebody. There we go. The major rock types, definitely, you need to be able to name them. You need to be able to give an example of each, and you need to be able to explain how it was formed. Okay, and they can also ask you, I think it is, my manual might be a little bit older than you guys. On my manual, it's on page 12. I don't know in the new manual if it's also page 12. I'm talking about this block here. You guys have your manuals with you. The rocks that are mentioned there, I would know them. Okay.
Sorry, which ones? I didn't see that.
So in my book, it's on page 12. It's this, where it gives you the rock type and examples of the rock types. If they're going to ask specific rocks, like granite or basalt or gabbro or marble or whatever, and ask you what rock type is it, or they give you a rock type and you must give an example, they will only use the ones that are in the manual. They're not going to ask you a rock type like Shelly limestone or something that we don't have here. Okay. Weather and erosion. You need to know what is the difference between weather and erosion. Okay, you must be able to describe that. And then you must be able to name the different types of weathering that you get. So chemical and mechanical, or what's the other word for it? Anyway, mechanical. Abiotic factors. And then you need to, just that one page on soils, it's really not that difficult. There's two things that they can possibly ask from there, and that is the attributes of soil. And remember, they're not going to ask you, how many is there? 6, 7. They're not going to ask you 7 attributes of soil, because that leaves 3 marks for the rest of geology. They might ask you 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most. And then precautions to protect soils, you know, problem soils. Which soils are problem soils? Like, for example, mud. Why is that a problem? You're going to get stuck. And that is going to not be professional with your guests. So can also be a safety factor. Or you get soils that can slide and you can flip your game viewer. Or on an ecological side, let's say, for example, sodic soils. It's very sensitive soil. So if you drive over that, you completely destroying the habitat of the sodic site. Or seep lines. Driving through a seep line, it creates 2 channels. And now where the water is supposed to seep in and start with the purification process or the renewal of the water, recycling of the water, it will now run off in these 2 channels and it destroys the whole seep line. Okay, so those type of things you should know about soils. Okay.
It's also like, it's also part of your essentials of guiding as well. And if you about your guiding as well, you know, so some soils take forever to recover, you know, those type of things.
No, well, for soil to form takes about 1,000 years. So
you take somebody goes bundu bashing across that type of soil, and how long is it going to take before it recovers?
Yeah, no. 80 years most of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime.
Yes. Okay, any other questions on geology? Sorry for pushing, but we are restricted with time tonight. Weather and climate, any specific questions? You can type or you can talk to me.
The type of winds. I know they love asking those in the exams. The type of winds, you know, the berg winds,
Yeah.
the type of winds.
Katabatic, anabatic, and berg winds. Just a tip on katabatic and anabatic. People switch those 2 around quite often. Just think of it. Anabatic. Anna is the name of a human, a woman. Okay. When are we awake? Usually during the day. So anabatic winds are during the day. And katabatic, cats, when are they awake? At night. So katabatic winds happen at night. Try and remember it that way. I have a question here from Jamie. How will they ask clouds? There's different ways of asking clouds. So they can give you a cloud, say a cumulonimbus cloud. Nimbocumulus cloud. Got it the wrong way around now. You must be able to describe the cloud. What does it look like? And then remember the module is weather and climate. So what type of weather can be expected from that cloud? Okay. I can also give you a photo of a cloud and say what cloud is it and what weather can be expected of it. Those type of questions on clouds. Does that help, Jamie? Okay. Do we need to know all the types of cloud
questions, cumulus clouds and so on?
Sorry, who am I speaking to? Hello? Is how we mate
Hi, I'm not sure if you
speaking.
can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. No, I've never used Zoom before, so I'm very new to this. I just dialed in now. I'm a little late.
Okay,
So
no
it's
problem.
just great to hear about what we can expect in the test. But
Okay.
I'm just listening in.
Okay, no problem. Just to clear this up, I'm not here tonight to give you examples of exam questions. Okay, that is not the purpose of the workshop. The purpose of the workshop is to help you if there's anything that you don't understand, and to just go through of what is maybe a little bit more important than other stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and go through exam questions, because that would be very unfair to people that don't have the opportunity to listen to the workshop or be part of it. Okay.
Of course. Thank you.
It's a pleasure and welcome with us. Okay, if we look at weather and climate, important, obviously, what is weather and climate? What is the difference between the two? That is what the module is all about. Then the influences on what causes the climate of South Africa, or what causes the weather patterns in South Africa. Okay. 3 things. Oceans. Remember, we've got 2 oceans, and one is warm and one is cold. So that obviously has a massive influence on our climate. And then our altitude, the interior plateau at its high altitude, the escarpment, that causes our weather patterns, and then also our latitude, okay, our distance from the equator and the poles. That is an important part. Okay, you need to know on the oceans, especially the currents. What is the current? Which direction does the current go? Is it warm or cold? Okay, and on which side of South Africa do you find it? Eastern side or western side? Okay, that's important. I'm just quickly going through this. Winds, as Micah said, yes. Katabatic, anabatic, berg winds, those are important to be able to explain. Can also ask you to draw it, or you can get a drawing and you need to identify which wind it is. Okay. Remember, just Anna climbs the mountain during the day. So on the eastern slopes, the winds will go up, and the cats come down from the mountain at night. So on the eastern slopes, your gust winds will come down the mountain, okay, towards the low-lying areas.
Sorry to ask one more question. In the exam, so take an example in the exam, they ask you the question, take a stupid example like a Bergwind.
Yeah.
You could, but you can't explain it. Will that be, will marks be counted, or will it be marked as incorrect?
You sort of drops a bit. Did you ask me, can you draw it instead of explaining it?
Yeah, if they ask you, because you just send them in your workbook, it says, please draw and explain what the, say for example, what a Bergwind is.
Yeah.
But you got to know the wording, but you can do the drawing. Will you get marks for just doing the drawing if the drawing is correct, or will that
okay, you're gonna have to explain some stuff. You're gonna have to explain let's see, what is that? The DALR. I can't remember what it stands for now. Adiabatic something lapse rate.
It's the dry adiabatic
lapse rate. Yes, there we go. You're going to have to at least explain that for every 100 meters, the temperature increases by 1%. And you have to at least explain why a Bergwind starts. Where does it start? It starts in the interior plateau where there's a sudden increase of temperature, creates a high and low pressure difference, and therefore the air moves from high pressure to low and the wind starts. So there's going to have to be some explaining. I get weird and wonderful drawings in the exams, and I'm like, what are you drawing? You know, I can't give you marks for a stick man if you don't tell me the stick man is Orion. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you say, but as long as there's some basic information along with the drawing, you'll be happy.
Yes, you can draw. If you can't write a paragraph, draw it, but at least label it so that the examiner can work out what you're trying to explain. Okay.
Okay, that's 100%. Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, warm and cold fronts. Definitely need to know that. There's two others, the tropical cyclone and the coastal low, which appears in some exams, but warm and cold fronts, most certainly. And then cloud formation, how clouds are formed, must be able to draw and explain or just explain, okay? And then know your different cloud types, which is the two major cloud types that you get, and what are their heights, what do they look like, and what weather you can expect from them. Okay. And then the last section on weather and climate is your seasonal weather systems on the western side of Southern Africa and the eastern side of Southern Africa. Know what happens during summer at both of them and what happens during the winter. So in the Cape, it rains in the winter, and in the summer, it rains in the eastern side of Southern Africa. So go through that, and also just know what is a thunderstorm. Wait, I've got a big insect jumping around on me now. Come on. Sorry, I'm just asking for some water, please. Thunderstorms and lightning. Okay. Not a lot of questions with regards to that, but there are some exam papers that has. Okay, you guys happy with weather and climate? Okay, let's move on to astronomy. Any specific questions with regards to astronomy?
Ellipses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. So what you need to remember with the eclipse is that it's a shadow. Okay, umbra is the fancy name for shadow. Okay, so you have to remember that if it is a lunar eclipse, you can't see the moon, but it is not because the moon is now being blocked. It is because the shadow of the earth is falling on the moon at night. And therefore you have a moon eclipse, a lunar eclipse. A solar eclipse is when the sun and the moon and the earth is in a straight line, and the shadow of the moon is falling on the earth during the day. And therefore it seems like you can't see the sun. So it becomes dark during the day. It's just because the shadow of the moon is falling on the earth. Does that help, Mike?
Yeah. Then the other one is okay. Is the other one, and I'm jumping around as well, but like the tides as well. You've got your different types of tides.
Yes, it's two major different types of tides: a spring tide and a neap tide. Okay. Spring tide is when the earth, moon, and sun is in a straight line. And then you get a neap tide where the sun and the moon is at a 90-degree angle to the earth. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Now there's.
Yes,
Okay,
Mike?
that's basically all on astronomy I've got problems with. That's basically what I've got. Anyone else can talk now if they want to.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Weather and climate, if there's no other questions coming in, I'm keeping my eye on the chat. If you have questions, you can write it down there as well. You need to know what is a galaxy and you need to know what is a solar system. Those are two very important things, and which galaxy we fall in. How many planets and moons is visible with the naked eye on a clear night? Do we need to know star names? Yes, Jamie, you do. Especially those of the Southern Cross, well, the 3 constellations that they do. Southern Cross, you need to know the pointer names, you need to know the 4 stars. I know there's 5 stars in the Southern Cross, but the 4 major stars. And then in Orion, you need to know Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, Scythe, Rigel, the 3 kings. Those are important ones. In Scorpio, the head of Scorpio and the heart of Scorpio. Okay, so Jabba, Graphias, Omega-1, that forms the head and the pinchers, and then Antares, which is the heart of Scorpio. You also need to know whether it's a red giant or a white star. I'm just admitting someone. Okay, how to find south, huh? And how can you use Orion to find direction? Those are 2 important tips there for you guys. Okay, I'm still going here through the manual just to see what is important. The difference between a star and a planet. Hello? Somebody wanted to say something? Okay, our sun, now and then there will be questions with the different gases, the 2 major gases that you find on the that the sun is made up of. Constellations, please know when they are visible, the months, not winter and summer, the months, May to November and November to May. Okay, Scorpio is May to November and Orion is November to May. Okay.
Well, they ask anything on the moons, different types of moon, new moon, waxing crescent. Well, they ask anything on the moons?
Yes, I'm still getting there. On the solar system, please know the planets in order. from Mercury to Neptune, and then the 3 dwarf planets. Okay, so our eight major planets, and then the 3 dwarf planets. The moon, there can be questions like, how long does it take the light to reflect back to the Earth from the moon? 1.3 seconds. What is the moon? It's a natural satellite. Shooting stars, that it's not a star, that it is a meteor that's burning out in the atmosphere of the Earth. Okay. Phases of the moon, you need to be able to define a waxing moon and a waning moon. You must be able to describe moon shapes. So a crescent moon and a gibbous moon. Eclipses I have covered already. Spring tides and neap tides I've covered, and that is weather and astronomy. Just one thing with regards to the solar system, I said you must know the planets in order, but you also need to know how many moons do they have, okay? Which planet is closest to the Earth? Which planet is closest to the sun? Which planet is the furthest from the sun? Which is the largest planet? Which is the smallest planet? Those type of facts. Okay. Cool. Anything else on astronomy? Okay, then we move on to ecology. One of the very important modules, because that brings everything together. You need to be able to define ecology. You need to understand what ecology is. Then those levels of organization from individual to the biosphere. You need to be able to name them and be able to know what they are. Okay, if there's any questions with regards to that, please just ask, then I can explain. Definitely be able to define what is an ecosystem. Then the functional and structural components of an ecosystem. Earlier, I was talking about a house with people and a dog and a cat and a parakeet and the veggie garden and the dustbin. Fit them into the functional and structural components of an ecosystem. Okay, so structural would structural would be the sorry, my brain is freezing here now. Structural components would be those that the people in the house and the dog and whatever, and then the house itself as well. So your biotic and abiotic factors. There we go. My brain's working again. And then you get your functional components is how does it function within that system. Okay, so your productivity and energy flow, your cycling of nutrients and chemicals, and your limiting factors. That's quite an important question, that one. Okay. Then you definitely need to be able, know what's the difference between biotic and abiotic, and give examples thereof. Need to know what is a producer, what is a consumer. And a consumer is not somebody that buys and sells things, okay? This is part of ecology, not economics. A consumer is an organism that needs to consume another organism to have energy. Food chains versus a food web, that is important. You must be able to label and give examples of a trophic pyramid. Okay, so usually they give you the trophic pyramid and you need to label it and give examples of each level. Your relationships, commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism. You need to, sorry, I'm admitting, there we go. with your relationships, it's a popular way of asking it is to give you an example. Say, for example, the fig wasps on the fig tree. That would be a mutualistic symbiosis. Or you can have something like a spider wasp that will lay its egg, paralyze the spider, lay its egg on the spider, bury it, and they bury it or putting it in this mud ball. And then the larvae, when it hatches, will then consume the spider. There's two relationships there. The spider that is laying its egg on the wasp laying its egg on the spider, that is parasitism, okay? Because the spider is definitely not benefiting. But when the larvae is consuming the spider, it's feeding on the spider, that is predation. Okay, so there's two relationships there. You need to know what's the difference between parasitism and predation. And then your competitions, intraspecific and interspecific competition, you need to be able to describe it and give examples of it. And then general questions like, how do humans affect ecosystems? You know, negatively, positively, examples of how we can negatively influence an ecosystem. Need to know a little bit about that as well. Okay, that's ecology. Any questions on ecology? Everybody good? You guys are very quiet. You make me nervous. Okay.
I know there's one question it's always asked is your nutrient cycle.
Ah, yeah, that's true. I skipped that one. Nutrient cycle. You must be able to either label a diagram that they give you or draw your own nutrient cycle. And guys, please, please, please label the things. If you're gonna draw it, you make a little block. Where is that thing? I usually just get these like circles and lines, and I don't understand where it's going. And I really try and mark that people get marks, but where is the nutrient cycle? But yeah, it's quite difficult.
Page 58. Page 58.
58. Oh, there we go. Okay, so label it. So I have a producer. Then I have consumers. The consumers and the producers have a waste pool. The decomposers are now using the waste pool, take the carbon out. That is what a decomposer does. That now become a nutrient pool, which the producers are drawing their nutrients from. Okay, so please label it. We can see where it's going.
Hi, is it Michelle? I also have a question.
Yes.
I'm just worried about what I may have missed. Is after this, is there a material that I can read up on again?
Yes, I'm recording this. I'm
Okay,
recording this
great.
session, and then the session will, a link to it will be put on the Facebook page and the
Okay,
Instagram
wonderful.
page.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
No
How do I
problem.
find? Can you send me the Facebook link?
They will put
those
it
that
on the
don't know how to
page,
find
and
it.
I don't know if they will email you guys with the link. I'm not sure, but I know that they will put it on the Facebook page. I hope this recording works. They will put it on the Facebook page, and then you can just click on that and go and listen to it.
I know the last year's one was put on YouTube.
Was it? Okay, then YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube's got last year's one, which you did last year, which is on YouTube still. It's still on YouTube, but they want to use it again.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Listen to that one and this one.
Yeah, because you see the one you did was longer, much longer. It went into more detail.
Yes, I know, but we pushed for
But now
time.
now it's been reduced. Now it's been reduced. But as I was just saying, if other students would like to go into the YouTube and go back to the one they did last in 2022,
Yeah.
they can pick up on things that we spoke about in the 2022 one.
Yes, they're more than welcome to do that. It's just that it's load shedding, and a whole bunch of us are going to lose signal
Yeah.
when load shedding hits in less than an hour. So I just really want to go through all the modules and just.
No, I
give you
understand.
guys
I
some
understand because
pointers.
you see, I managed to save it. That's why this one is to do a bit of a revision.
Okay. Okay, can we jump to biomes, guys? Biomes, please know how many biomes there are, terrestrial biomes. You must be able to define a biome, an ecozone, and a habitat. Those three things, very important. Know what they are. If it's unclear for anybody, please ask, then I can explain. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on going through. If you don't talk to me,
I do have a
don't know.
question about biomes.
Yes.
In the last test I did with biomes, I found it quite incredibly difficult to gauge, you know, on the to select all the different answers by the questions. I think one of the questions were like, for instance, I think it was the fynbos biome, but then the question would be, in which of all the biomes do you find this specific plant that grows and thrives in the system? And then, okay, cool, that's easy. And then the other one is more a difficult question. Then I have to try and select, okay, is it now the desert one or the savanna one? Because you find this element in both, but I'm not sure which is defined to be more. I just found it pretty difficult the way it was asked. Is there maybe a specific reference or material I can study up on to make it a bit more clear how to answer those questions regarding the biomes?
Yeah, what makes the biomes, it's a learning subject. Unfortunately, it's not an understanding subject. If it comes to things like flagship species and influences on the biomes. I would get myself a big A0 chart and draw the biomes on there and write all the specifics. It is difficult when you know, that's how I learned it, and then I went and I traveled through all of them so I can understand it better. But yeah, I would get a big sheet and I would write them down and write the flagship species, or go and, you know, like a, what do you call it, a scrapbook, put an elephant there and a lion there and a leopard here and a marula tree there and whatever, and you know, to visualize it, visualize it for yourself. And I always say to people, if you really want to see something, a lot of times, what do you use the most? The fridge, then paste it on the fridge. If you put it on the back of the door of the toilet or something, you know, where you're gonna have, when you can look at it almost daily, and eventually it sinks in. Repetition always works.
Thank you, we'll do that.
Okay.
I know what he's trying to get at. There's just two types of fynbos biome.
Okay, so just on biomes, rainfall, influences, flagship species, rainfall meaning when do they get rain? There's so many questions that can come from biomes. Okay, but definitely know how to define what is a biome, what is an ecozone, and what is a habitat. At least those three things you can nail. And that there's 9 terrestrial biomes. Let me just quickly look here at some of the flagship species. Just give me a second. Things like in the Nama Karoo, that it is exposed and windy, very hot in summer, cold in winter, those type of things. Desert biome, where do you find the desert biome? Interesting little things that they mention here that they like to ask about. Flagship species there, grants, golden mole. Grassland biome, how many major subdivisions is there in the grassland biome? There are 3, you'll be able to mention them. The flagship species of the grassland biome, lilies. That's usually a interesting one they ask. Savanna biome being the largest biome. What the effect of termites and fire. The flagship species. Just remember that the elephant is not a flagship species of the savanna, it's the thicket. People usually get that one wrong. Thicket biome, how many vegetation types can the thicket biome be divided into? There are 6, the dune, the valley, speckboom, mesic, xeric, and riverine. Flagship species of the thicket biome, the Indian Ocean coastal belt. Flagship species, where do you find the Indian Ocean coastal belt? You guys must tell me if I'm going too fast, huh? I just want to get through everything. Which provinces will the Indian coastal belt fall under? Which countries? Mozambique and South Africa. Provinces, KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape. The succulent Karoo, again, flagship species. Fynbos biome, the 2 different vegetation types, renosterveld and fynbos. What the major plant species in the fynbos? Okay, and then, yeah, the last part is ecozones and habitats. Please go through that and know that. You must also know where all these biomes are lying. Huh? They can, for example, give you the map like this. And there's numbers. So there's nothing written on it. They just put numbers on each. And then they can ask questions and say, give the numbers of the biomes that have summer rainfall. Those type of questions. Or a table form where they give you specific interesting facts or influences or flagship species in the one column and the biomes in the other column, and you must match them. Okay, anything else on biomes that you guys would like to know? Then we can move on. Are you guys awake?
Yeah.
Or am I talking to myself here? Taxonomy.
Oh,
Please
wow.
be able to define taxonomy and why taxonomy is important. The definition of taxonomy is the theory. It's what you learn about it. What is taxonomy? Why is it important? All of that. The theory of taxonomy and the practice. How do you use it in the field or as a researcher? And that is being used to classify and name organisms. That's the definition of taxonomy. Okay. What else do they all say? The hierarchical order of taxonomy: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family. genus, species. Please know it in order. Okay, so go and get yourself a little rhyme. There's lots of little rhymes out there. King Peter can only fart green smoke, something like that. People
And
think,
it works, it works, it works. Anyone you work at, it works out perfectly.
okay, please know it in order. They will not ask you the bat ear fox classification, but the hyena, the lion, the leopard, the buffalo, the rhino, the elephant. Go and have a look at those, okay? But they don't usually ask that. It's more, do you understand what taxonomy is? Do you understand? Can you define what is a species? Can you tell me what is a genus? Okay. The 6 kingdoms, you must be able to name them. Okay. Don't worry too much about spelling. It's not a spelling test. As long as the word represents what it should sound like. Okay, that is also know what is a subspecies, please. And then because a lot of people, especially guests as well, would ask, why do they keep on changing bird names? Or why did acacia now become Vachellia and Senegalia? So why do names change, common names change? Okay. For many years we had it as the long-tailed shrike. Now it's the magpie shrike. Well, that's been quite a while already. But it is because they're trying to universalize it. Everywhere else in the world, it's called a magpie shrike, and in South Africa we called it a long-tailed shrike. For example, the blue waxbill, little bluebird, it's called a blue waxbill everywhere in Africa, except in Kenya, it's called the cordon bleu. Okay, so Kenya is going to have to call it a blue waxbill at some stage.
Same with your first called a kip, now a plover, now a lapwing.
Yeah. It's plover to lapwing. All the big ones are now lapwings. But there's reasons for it, okay? Plovers don't pretend to have a lapwing when they try and get predators not to kill their babies. Then
Okay,
also,
is that where the name comes from, lapwing?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Honestly, it's news to me. I didn't know it came from because of the wing that was. I didn't know that. Honestly.
Yeah, it's because they pretend to have a broken wing.
Oh, they fake.
Yeah.
They fake
Yeah.
injury.
Yes. Okay, and then scientific names. What makes up a scientific name? It's the genus and the species, and which languages are being used, Greek and Latin. Okay, that's important. Okay, you guys happy with taxonomy? Can we move on to plants? Yeah. Awesome. You need to be able to define a plant. Okay, what is a plant? Autotrophic, chlorophyll containing organism that uses sunlight in the process of photosynthesis to create sugars or its own energy, and has a cell wall and is non-motile. You need to be able to define a plant. I know when a question comes up, what is a plant or what is a fish? Then people are like, a fish is a fish. You know, you must be able to define it. Okay. Plants start off with fungi. Okay. Fungi is not a plant. It doesn't fall under the kingdom Plantae. So please just don't think that fungi falls under the kingdom Plantae. It falls under its own kingdom because it doesn't contain chlorophyll, therefore it can't be a plant. And there are 3 types of fungi. Saprophytic, it's the normal mushroom, the thing that you will make sheba with. Okay. And then you have a symbiotic fungi, like for example lichen, where fungi and algae is in a mutualistic symbiosis. And then you get parasitic fungi like foot fungi, nail fungi, mistletoe on a leadwood tree, those type of things. Okay, so those 3 classifications of fungi. Then plants, you need to be able to define a plant. I've already said that. You just go through here and see. You need to be able to know what is a vascular plant. It consists of 2 cell types, xylem and phloem. And you need to know what xylem and phloem's functions are. What do they do? Xylem takes the moisture and nutrients up the tree to where photosynthesis can take place. After photosynthesis, the phloem takes the energy to where the plant is needed, where the plant needs it. Okay, so either for reproduction or growth or transpiration or breathing. And on that topic of breathing, please know what is the difference between photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, plants don't breathe, they don't have lungs, but they cell respiration, so gas exchange through the cell membrane. Okay, so know the difference there as well. Canobacteria, please know the importance of canobacteria, and that blue-green algae does not exist. There is no such thing. It's canobacteria. Why is it important? Okay, so what ecological benefits does it have? And that it's also toxic. So it is something that you need to take care of from an ecological point of view. So if you're a game ranger somewhere, canobacteria plays a big role in your daily duties. If there's an outbreak, and then also you don't want your guests to go and put their feet in the water. They're going to get sick. Okay, now what is a lichen? Algae, the ecological importance of algae, the role it plays in the ecology. Okay, when we look at vascular plants, please know the difference between a gymnosperm and an angiosperm. And then under angiosperms, know the difference between a monocotyledon and a dicotyledon. Okay, monocotyledons are all the grass-like graminoids. So lilies, palms, grasses, sedges, and then your dicotyledons, all your fruit trees. Okay, then the anatomy of a plant, you need to know what is the function of roots? What's the function of leaves? What's the function of the bark? What is the function of branches? Okay. Sorry, just hold on a second for me. There's a red Roman on its way to you. Okay. Okay. Flowers. Just what is the importance of flowers? I think we can all generally thumbs-up that one. It's reproduction. And then the difference between thorns and spines. Okay, there's a lot of confusion there. I'm just going to quickly talk about that. If we take, for example, the old acacia, we talk about a thorn tree. And that's actually wrong. It should be called a spine tree, because if we look at what is the scientific definition of a thorn is a modified branch. Branches can grow. Things grow out of branches. And a spine is a modified leaf. Nothing grows from a leaf. But because we call that a thorn tree, we've confused the two. We've switched them around. So it becomes a very tricky thing in the exam. People don't know if they must write that a thorn is a modified leaf, because that's wrong. Thorn is a modified branch. Okay. So everything that we call a thorn tree should actually be called a spine tree. Please just make sure that you guys don't switch those two around. Okay, leaves, the leaf types, please, simple leaves, and compound leaves, and then your bipinnately compound and pinnately compound leaves. Must be able to define those. Okay. Grasses. Okay, the importance of grass. It's also the most important plant species in the world. With grasses, I call it the three languages of grass: the grazing value, the ecological status, and the succession. You need to be able to define that and have examples of it. Okay, so your ecological status, for example, what is a decrease of grass? What is the increase of grass? What cause increase of one grasses to grow? What increase of two grasses and increase of three grasses? Okay, I've got a question here. Do we need to know medicinal and traditional uses of plants? There has been a few, Jamie, there's been a few exams, but quite long ago, where they would say, give a traditional belief of the, choose a tree of your choice, and then give a traditional belief or a use or a medicinal use. But that made it quite difficult because it's a national sitting. So people are from all different biomes and areas in South Africa. And then the examiner might not know that specific plant. So I think they did away with those questions. That's more from a practical side. Okay. Grasses, where am I now? Grasses. So yeah, those three. Please know what is succession. Okay, secondary succession. What is a pioneer plant? What is a subclimax plant? What is a climax plant? Okay, be able to define that and give an example. Okay, same with ecological status, decreases and increases, and the same with your grazing value. What is grazing value? Okay, you need to be able to define that. So it is the ability of a plant to produce palatable leaves. Do animals eat it or not? Yeah, sweet felt, sour felt, and mixed felt. Go and learn that table, that one there. Remember, mixed felt is just you either get a mixed sour felt or a mixed sweet felt. A mixed sour felt means the majority of the grass species are sour felt grasses, and there are some sweet felt grasses as well, and just the opposite. So the high felt area, we have a mixed sour felt, and the low felt, we have a mixed sweet felt. So it just means there's both, but the name of it is what you have the majority of. Okay, guys, we've got about 40 minutes left. No, sorry, 20 minutes left. Any other questions on, facilitation? Please know what facilitation means. Okay, in my book, it's on page 110. Okay, arthropods. Everybody happy with plants? Can we move on to arthropods? Cool. Know what the word arthropod means. And please remember, arthropod is a phylum. It's not a class, it's a phylum. In phylum, we split. Do you have a skeleton, internal skeleton or not? You don't? then you fall under a different phylum, for example, arthropods. The differences between the class Insecta or insects and the class Arachnids or Arachnida on legs, body parts, eyes, what type of eyes, compound or simple eyes, how many, wings or not, antennae or not, and examples. Please, you need to be able to give examples. Then on the class Insecta, life cycles, very important. Okay, you need to know those 3 life cycles, and you need to be able to explain it, and you need to be able to give examples of it. So I would presume for the online people, they will give you a bunch of insect examples, and you need to say which one would be a ametabolic, which one would be a hemimetabolic, which would be a holometabolic. Can't think how else they can ask that. So please get examples. Remember, for hemimetabolic, anything bug, spittle bug, blister bee, no, that's a beetle, sorry. Spittle bug, what other bugs? Stink bug, assassin bug. All your bugs are heavy metabolic. All your beetles, anything beetle, is holometabolic. Please don't go ladybug. A ladybug is not a bug, it's a beetle. Okay, we named it wrong. Okay, so know your life cycles, please. That is very important. How do spiders differ from other arachnids? Okay, they have a pedicel, a little stalk that you can say is almost like a little neck. And then their bodies aren't segmented. They have 2 body parts, but the body itself is not segmented. Okay, what is a solifuge? Need to be able that. Why is a solifuge not a true spider? And then your subclasses of spiders, your megalomorphs and your araneomorphs, web living or free running spiders or free hunting spiders. What makes a spider of medical importance? If a spider can't bite through your skin, it can't inject venom into your bloodstream. So the fangs need to be long enough to penetrate through your skin. And then also the venom needs to be concentrated enough to kill the size of your body. Okay, usually spiders will eat insects. So their venom is concentrated for insects that size. And we are obviously much bigger than an insect. So therefore, the concentration of the venom usually is not enough to harm the size of you, unless you're like a 3-day-old baby. Okay, then scorpions, the different families of scorpions, Buthidae, Scorpionidae, Bothidae, and Ischneridae. I know in the NQF2 manual, they mainly cover Buthidae and Scorpionidae. So Buthidae is the small pinches with the thick tail, which is of medical importance. And then your Scorpionidae, the larger pinches and a slightly thinner tail. It's more or less equal, like a bark scorpion. What venom do scorpions have? All scorpions worldwide are neurotoxic. Okay, and then ticks is a new one that has come in over the past 5 or so years. Those small little questions with regards to ticks, like what is the purpose of the Heller's organ, or what is the Heller's organ? That the larval stage of ticks only have 6 legs, remember one of the characteristics of the class Arachnida is that they have 8 legs, but the larval stage of ticks have 6 legs. And then lastly, your myriapods, your centipedes and millipedes. There's a beautiful explanation in your books, and then also this table over here. Please read the question carefully. Are they asking for 3 differences? So general differences between a millipede and a centipede? Or are they asking for physical differences? Or are they asking how they differ in how they protect themselves against predation? Read the question carefully and answer to that. And that is in general for the exam as well, guys. A lot of people lose points in the written exam with regards to, they will say, explain the following life cycles in insects and give an example of each. And then people forget about the example part. And it's usually 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. And now you only get 50% of the marks because you didn't give examples. Please. I usually recommend that people underline what are they specifically asking for, and make sure that you write that in your answer. Okay. It's easier for the online people because you don't have to, you can't miss something because the question allows you only to tick here and tick there. So it makes it a little bit easier for online, but for written exam people forget to write that down. Okay, that is arthropods. Everybody happy with arthropods? Anything you want me to explain? Okay, good. Then we move on to fish. Okay, the 3 groups of fish, classified groups of fish, classes of fish. Don't worry about the scientific names there. Agnata and can hardly pronounce the names. Just jawless fish, bony fish, and cartilaginous fish, and be able to give an example of each. So bony fish, a carp, cartilaginous, a shark, and jawless, a lamprey or a hagfish. And you must be able to define what is a fish. Okay, fish is the only vertebrate that is fully aquatic, and then all the other characteristics that goes with that. Covered in scales, breathe with gills. Some fish do have a primitive lung, and they move with fins. They don't have limbs. The ecological role of fish. So something like, how do fish play a role in the aquatic ecology? Okay, so fish eat fish. Fish also clean up water systems. They produce nutrients for the soil, for the plants, the water plants or aquatic plants. They are also being eaten by things like crocodiles, herons, water monitors. So you must be able to put a fish within the aquatic ecosystem and explain what role it plays. Okay. The growth of fish, important. What makes a fish grow faster or slower? Okay, size of the environment they're in, cold or hot water, availability of food, its genetics. A guppy is never going to become the size of a shark. Doesn't matter how big the water body is. Okay, how do fishes' teeth tell you what they eat? So something like a tiger fish, they have long, sharp teeth because they eat other fish. Okay, and then you get those that that don't have any teeth, like a parrotfish. They eat coral, so they have a beak. And then those that are cleaning the rocks and things of algae, they don't have teeth, they have sucker mouthparts. Senses, especially eyesight, is important. Go and look at the adaptations of the eye of a fish. Okay, their sense of smell is also important. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Everybody happy with fish? Can we move on to amphibians? Okay, what are the characteristics of the class amphibians? Okay, and then follow up on that. What are the characteristics of the order Anora? So we have the class amphibians that have characteristics. All the orders under that must have those characteristics of the class amphibians. Okay. So the only order we have in Southern Africa is the order Anora, which means tailless in adult stage. So that's our frogs and toads. They have their own set of characteristics, which includes the characteristics of the class. Okay, know the differences between frogs and toads. Okay, what would you use to identify a frog or a toad? Okay, it's their colors, their eye pupils, and their feet. What makes amphibians unique? It's a biphasic life cycle, or describe the life cycle of frogs and toads. Okay, so we have egg, then we have a fully aquatic stage, which is the tadpole. From there, they absorb the tail and the gills. They don't lose their tails. Okay, they grow limbs and lungs. And that transition period from tadpole to froglet is very sensitive because they are not fully equipped for terrestrial life yet. And they're also starting to lose the adaptations for aquatic life. So it's a very vulnerable stage. And from there, they grow into an adult. Okay, do frogs shed their skins? And why don't we see frog skins lying around? Because they eat it. Okay, then there can be, they describe a few frogs in your manual. So questions can come from, say, for example, the banded rubber frog, the rain frogs, the foam nest frogs. So please go and read through that. Shovel-nosed frogs. Okay, and then we move on to frog calls. Very important.
Oof. This
Yeah.
is where
Yes.
this is where I lose all my marks.
Sorry?
This is why I lose all my marks. I just cannot memorize these calls. I just can't memorize. I don't know why, but you know, you get it there and you hit a blank. And
Okay,
it's worth it.
Okay, let me
Points.
just tell you, Mike, let me tell you a story and try and remember the story. Okay. So you have two male frogs that are interested in females, okay? And they sit there and they advertise themselves. Okay, I'll answer the question just now, Cornell. They advertise themselves. It's that monotone call that drives you insane if you pitch your tent next to the Glacieri Dam in summer. Okay, so they are advertising themselves. Then
Okay.
another male comes past and they have this small little territory that they're in where they advertise themselves. So then you're going to get an aggressive call. They're going to fight each other. Okay, it's usually a high-pitched scream. The one loses the fight, and now a female hops past, but she's not ready for mating, or she's not from the same species. And the male jumps on the female, and the female gives a short scream, and she says, "Release me. I do not want to mate with you." Okay. And that part of the story is finished, and here comes a hammerkop. And that same male frog screams to give a distress call. There is a predator around. So guys, we must all be quiet now. Okay. So first they advertise, then they fight each other, then they jump on one that doesn't want to mate, and then the hammerkop arrives. So advertisement, aggressive, release, and distress call. And then we get two types of behavior: satellite behavior and timeshare
I'm
calling.
sharing.
Okay. Satellite behavior is where you have an actively calling male and you have a silent male. And this is to save energy. Okay. And it also helps that there's not so many calls going out and the female starts getting confused. The same with timeshare calling. Instead of all the frogs around the pond that is of the same species, all calling together, they will share time to call so that there's one call going out. It makes it easier for the females to know where to go. Okay, so just create yourself a story and think of that when you need to answer the question in the exam. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Does that help?
That makes a lot more sense, yeah.
I'm glad I can help. Okay, Cornell, will there be frog calls in online test and bird calls? Cornell, just so that I know what you're asking, are you asking, will they play you a frog call and you then have to identify it? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering.
No.
Like how, if they tell you, would they say with bird calls, will they explain kind of how it sounds like and then you have to tell?
No.
Or...
No, not at all. That is a practical part. Okay, so when you do your practical assessment, for example, when I do it here, then as part of the assessment, I will play you 5 bird calls and you ID it. Or while you're out on the practical assessment, you will ID birds on the assessment.
Okay.
So a grey go-away bird sits on a tree and starts calling. You will say there's a grey go-away bird calling. Okay, but not as part of the theory.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, then coloration, camouflage, very important. Okay, so especially things like aposematic colors, flash coloration. Okay, and then the different amplexes. Amplexes is the way in how the male clasps the female. Okay, those 3, axillary, inguinal, and adhesion. You must be able to explain that and give examples of frogs or toads that are using that. Okay, the frog eggs, the importance of the jelly covering. Why is that important? Okay. And then general things with regards to tadpoles, like, for example, name 2 frog species where the tadpoles, the eggs, no, not the eggs, the tadpoles hatch from the eggs outside the water, like a foam nest frog. It is outside of the water, but as soon as they hatch, they wiggle and then they fall through and they fall into the water. So their lifespan, the tadpole life cycle will still be in water, but the eggs are laid outside of the water. Okay, leaf folding frogs, the same thing. Rain frogs, the same thing. Okay, and then the feeding behavior of frogs. How do frogs feed? Okay, just go and read through that whole thing. There's a couple of questions that can come from that. How is the tongue adapted for catching food? Are they opportunistic feeders? Do they physically go out and actively hunt, or do they sit sedentary and wait for an insect to hop past? Okay, that is amphibians. Any other questions with regards to amphibians? Oh, we are still lucky with some electricity, guys. Okay, reptiles. Okay. The 3 orders of reptiles, please know them. Chelonia, Squamata, and Crocodilia. Be able to give examples of those. Under Chelonia are terrapins, turtles, and tortoises. Know the differences between them. Differences between male and female tortoises. What is a bursa sac and what is the importance of it, and especially in the guiding environment. Why should you not pick up tortoises? When it comes to the order Squamata, and you get all those different families, excuse me, for example, name 3 differences between a gecko and a skink. Those type of questions is quite popular. Snakes, obviously very important. The venom and the fangs. Okay, the fangs tells you what venom the snake has, and then also the symptoms of the venom when you're envenomated. Skin shedding in snakes. How many times do they shed their skins from when they're young versus to when they are adults? And then crocodiles, all the different adaptations of crocodiles. Can their bottom jaw move? How long can they stay underwater? What do crocodiles eat? Breeding behavior when they lay their eggs, and the sex of the young crocodiles will be determined by the incubation temperature. Okay, what are those temperatures? 31 to 34 degrees are males and 26 to 30 degrees are females. What ecological role do crocodiles play in the aquatic ecosystem? You guys happy with reptiles? Please, guys, if there's something you want me to explain, the power is still on. Let's hope they forget about us. Birds. Okay, what is the unique characteristic of a bird? Feathers. Okay, some other characteristics of birds, the fact that they have scales on their legs, they have wings, they have horny beaks, they lay eggs. Okay, and then the different foot structures of birds, your passerine foot structure, 3 toes forward, 1 toe back, all your small birds and crows. And then your neopasserines, 2 toes forward, 2 toes back, and then your non-passerines, that is all the other foot structures like talons, webbed, semi-webbed, ostrich, the 2-toe. What else is there? Only 3 toes forward, no 4th toe, like your true ground birds, like lapwings and water thickneys and spotted thickneys. Okay, how does the beak of a bird relate to the food that they eat? You need to be able to make that connection and give an example of, say, insect feeder that feeds on its prey that can actually hurt it, like for example a bee eater. They will have a longer beak so that the bee stinger can't go into their eye. And then specialized feeding methods like filter feeders, probers, woodpeckers. Okay, then the different types of nests, you need to know, they can either give you birds and say what nests will they have, or they can give you nests and say, give an example of a bird with a nest like that. Brood parrot, sorry, Mike?
Hatchlings also, some of the things also usually get asked about hatchlings.
Yeah, I'm getting there now. Okay, so brood parasitism. Okay, know the species that are brood parasites: cuckoos, honey guides, and indigo birds or widos. And know at least where there is more, like in your honey guides that have many different hosts. At least know 2 host species. And remember that the Burchell's cuckoo is not a brood parasite. Okay, it's the only cuckoo. Cuckoos are part of the cuckoo family. So, but the Burchell's cuckoo is the only cuckoo in Southern Africa that is not a brood parasite. And then also with brood parasitism, what does the host chick do to the eggs or chicks of the the parasite bird? What does the chick do to the host bird's eggs or chicks? Okay, do they kick them out? Do they smother them accidentally, or are they reared together? Okay, then behaviors in birds. Preening is important. Bathing, the different types of bathing: sunbathing, dust bathing, water bathing. Allopreening. Anting, like for example doves that will lie there and will either put ants on their wings to perform a cleaning, or would just lie there and wait for ants to climb up. What would you use to identify birds with? Okay, everybody happy with birds? Anything you would like me to explain? Okay, then we can move on to mammals. Let's hope the electricity stays on. Okay, the characteristics of mammals are important, and please look at the main characteristics or the most important ones: mammary glands, hair or fur. The different reproductive classifications, your monotremes, marsupials, and placentals. The different foot structures with examples, or they will give you the foot structure and say, what foot structure is that? What foot structure is that? Okay, plantigrade, digitigrade, ungulates and neo-ungulates. When it comes to mammary glands in mammals, please know the advantage of the adaptation of mammary glands. Okay, that they produce milk and therefore food is always available to the young, and the young are with the adults and therefore the adults can protect the young. Then the classification on what animals eat. So your carnivores, your herbivores, the different grazers that you get, your bulk grazer and your selective grazer, browsers, piscivores, frutivores, insectivores, omnivores, all of those, and be able to give examples. Just a tip on how this can be asked, and I would presume it would be the same for the written and for the online exam. They can give you a list of animal names, and then they will write what do they call that thing? Arthrodactyl, a ruminant, placental, omnivore, and what can the other one be? A piscivore. Okay, and they can either give you pictures of animals, and then you need to say which one is which, or they can give you names of animals, and you must choose from the different options that you must give examples for. So you should have at least examples that you can connect to those different groupings. Okay, then the big question usually is all these orders, what you must know. I would definitely go and read through those, okay, through all the orders that they, orders and families that they are covering. But they're not going to ask you, give an example of the family Soricidae. Okay, that complication with the scientific names, they won't do that. But they can say, give 3 characteristics of elephant shrews. Things like that. What is the purpose of elephant's trunk? What are ivory made out of? Where's the thinnest skin on an elephant's body? Those are all little interesting facts that they give you guys. When it comes to bats, order Chiroptera, know that there are two suborders, your Microchiroptera and your Mega. And please, 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 okay, micro, and then people want to go macro. It's Microchiroptera, your insect feeding bats, and then Megachiroptera, which is your fruit bats. Yeah, I'm just going through the manual, guys, because I don't want to miss something for you guys.
The digestive system?
Yes, so with your herbivores, the different stomach structures, your ruminants that have the four stomach chambers, please know them in order and know what each chamber does. Okay, if you guys are not certain about that, please just pop me a question there and then I can talk about that. Okay, that's mammals. Any questions on mammals? Then we can move on to ethology, animal behavior. Great. You must be able to define animal behavior or ethology. Define ethology. It's the study of animal behavior in their natural environment. 2-point question. People say it's a study of animal behavior. That's only 1 point. In their natural habitat. Okay. Why is it important for you as a guide to know animal behavior? You need to know individual, population, and community. Important with population is it is a group of animals that are of the same species that can interbreed in a specific area. And a community is different populations together that do not interbreed.
A population, would it also include a wildebeest? Or, I know, but there's two different types of wildebeest, the blue wildebeest and the black wildebeest. So they will not be classed as a population, would they?
No, black wildebeest will be a population of its own, and blue wildebeest will be a population on its own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good,
Grouping
thanks.
sorry?
That's fine, thanks.
Okay, grouping behaviors. Please know the grouping behaviors, all of them, and give an example of each. Okay. Animal communication, the difference between vocal communication, that is the use of vocal cords, and non-verbal communication, like, for example, body parts that make sounds, or body language, facial expressions, chemical communication through pheromones, why is vocal communication preferred? Okay, because it can travel over long distances, you can switch it on and off. I can talk now and then I can stop talking. I can also raise my voice, or I can talk softer. Okay, vocal communication is also a type of proto-language, a primitive language, where different calls will have information with regards to different predators. So, for example, if the one monkey, the police monkey, sit there in the tree and he's calling, and you'll see all the other monkeys will move up into the tree, because it means that there's a predator on the ground. Or they will have a different call for a predator in the sky. You will see all the monkeys go down. Or there's a snake in the tree. So these are all different calls that that species can then know, okay, I must go up the tree, down the tree, come help fight a snake off, or something like that. Need to know what the black and white markings are and what the purpose of it is. Disruptive markings, or follow me signs. Protective behavior. Camouflage, warning colors, aposematic colors, thanatosis, startle and deflection displays, protective armor, autotomy, self-mutilation, and examples of animals that do that. Distraction displays. And then the difference between a home range and a territory. Please know that table. In my book, it is on page 224. Okay, they can also give you this and ask you, let's take, for example, the elephant here. And let's say that one is A and that one is B. Please indicate which is the front foot. Okay, or they can give you there at the bottom the rhinos, and you can see there they will give you centimeters, and if it is about 300 millimeters, then you know you're talking about a white rhino. If it's smaller than 300 millimeters, then you're talking about a black rhino. You can't just write rhino, you must say which rhino. Okay, animal behavior, any questions? Jamie, are you asking me? Can you describe it to me? I don't have a workbook with me. You can put your audio on and just describe it to me.
Okay, it's can I put my video on and just show you?
Yes, please. Okay. That is a
That one.
tortoise.
Okay, I know that one, yeah.
The tortoise.
Tortoise. Okay, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Tortoise.
Yeah, that's a tortoise track. Anything else? We are blessed with electricity, so let's use it. Okay, sorry.
Back to the workbook and quick 20 that question to us about the thing. I spoke what I thought this thing with I've got a scorpion track, not a tortoise, a scorpion.
No, it's not a scorpion, it's a tortoise track.
So Liesel got it wrong because you marked it correct in my book.
I don't know who Liesel is, but that is
From
a tortoise
Pilot
track.
Field Guides.
That is a tortoise track, I promise you. Go to Louis Liebenberg's book and you'll see it's a tortoise track.
I've got it. I've got the book. I'll check it up. Thanks.
Okay, pleasure. Okay, conservation and habitat management. Okay, you need to be able to say why do you as a field guide or a nature guide have to have knowledge of conservation and habitat management, okay? Because you work in the field, you are the foot soldier, you're out there twice a day on a game drive, and you can spot problems arising and you can then report it, and you also use it to create an awareness with your guests. Okay, then the different, what's the word I'm looking for here? The different tools of habitat management, let's put it that way. Fire, the different types of fires, when to burn, when not to burn. Erosion, how you can combat erosion. The different methods like brush packing or branch packing or mattress packing, it's all the same thing. Or gabions that you will put in dongos, you need to be able to explain that. What are the different types of erosion? Sheet erosion, rill erosion, and gully erosion, and how you would combat those three types of erosion. Okay, road maintenance. Know what is a bolster and a mitre drain, and what is the use of it or the purpose. Bush encroachment versus alien vegetation. Okay, bush encroachment is indigenous plants that will grow, that will encroach an area due to a disturbance. Like, for example, if you have overgrazing due to cattle, you will have a lot of sickle bush that will take over. Okay, so remove the cattle and the sickle bush will do its job and die. Where alien or invasive species, and please be careful not to write, if you're writing the exam, please be careful not to say it is a plant from a different country. It can also be from a different province or a different area. Let's take, for example, the kippersol, the cabbage tree. Oh, here comes the wind. The kippersol is a high fell tree. but some birds can eat the seeds and they can come and poop it out here, or people will plant it in their gardens. That is also regarded as an alien. So it's an exotic species that should not be in that area. What causes bush encroachment and how you can combat that? Okay, alien plants, I've covered that. You must be able to give examples of bush encroachment species and alien species. Okay, then animal population control. Now, what's the difference between culling and cropping? And then another method through waterhole rotation. Remember, animals will go where there's water. So by closing a waterhole, you can actually work on the ecological succession of that area. The water dependence of animals, you need to know what the different water dependence. So animals that are independent of water, like for example, a steenbok. Then your water dependent animals, you get the ones, the mobile water dependent, and the animals that are just close, like an impala would be about 5 kilometers around water, and they would stay there until that water source would dry up. And then you get something like your buffaloes that will be mobile water dependent. So they will have like a migration route between different water sources. Please know some examples there. And then definitely know what is a transfrontier park and what is a biosphere reserve, and know at least 2 examples of each. Okay, any questions on conservation management and habitat management? Okay, let's move on to historical human habitation. Please know the different eras. So early Stone Age, Middle Stone Age, later Stone Age, and Iron Age. And know the following on those. Okay, so know the 4 ages. In each age, know when they are. Okay, so what is the span of that? Then know the tools that you can recognize from that period. Have examples of each of those periods, at least 2. Okay, and then the importance of archaeological sites. Why is it important for us to have archaeological sites? Okay, our 4 different groups, major groups of traditional cultures in Southern Africa or South Africa, the Nguni, Sotho-Tswana, Sitsonga, which includes Shangans, and the Vendas. I honestly don't know how to say that word. Venda. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, how many provinces we have in South Africa? How many recognized languages? 11. Okay, and that is human habitation. Any other questions? Okay, we can talk until the electricity goes off, or we can say.
I've got one question. I've got one question. Going back to snakes and reptiles. In the past, is it still classed as the puff adder is the snake for the most snake bites, or is it now the Mozambique spitting cobra?
No, it's still the puff adder.
Still the puff adder. Okay.
The reason for it is because it's a very slow moving snake. So people think that they can use a small little stick to pick them up, but they're the fastest striking snake in the world. Takes quite a lot for a puffy to bite you, but if it bites you, it goes. Okay, and people do weird and wonderful things with snakes, like throw hot water on them. Somebody throws hot water on me, I'll also bite you. Any other questions, people? And for those that came in a little bit later, I am not Michelle Duplessis. That's the MD of FGASA. I'm Letitia. Okay. I'm just using her login details from FGASA.
Letitia, can I ask you a different question than with the exams?
Yes.
Would you say doing the practical, you should do it through a provider, like a school, or?
Sure, Cornell, I think I know what you're asking. It all depends on how much exposure have you had practically. What is your experience? What I, for example, offer is a practical prep. I usually recommend a minimum of a week, because think of it, I don't know where you're from. Let's say Joburg, and now you come and do a practical assessment at Bella Bella or in near Hoedspruit, here where we are, or there in Nelspruit, and you don't really know the area, you don't know the birds that well, you don't know the trees that well, you don't know the roads that you need to drive on. So I would recommend, if you're going to go and do a practical, to not just pitch and do a 2.5 hour or 3 hour practical, because you can't deliver your best then, because you're not secure in the area. If you're already at a lodge or in a nature reserve and you know the area, then I would recommend that the assessor comes to you. You must put yourself in a position where you can deliver the best assessment to be assessed on.
Okay, yeah, because I'm in Namibia, and I am on a lodge. Well, I don't guide at the moment at the lodge, but I do get a lot of experience.
You buy me a flight ticket to Namibia, I'll come and do your assessment any day. I'd love to go.
Well, that's better than going to a provider for $80,000.
Oh yeah, no, most certainly.
Okay. I did write your number down. I will stay in contact.
No problem, Cornell. If you also need maybe people that are closer to you, that are accredited assessors, I can put you in contact with them.
Okay, thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure.
Let's just first pass the theoretical.
Yeah, no. And I would love to hear from you guys if you've made it. I have on Campfire Academy, which is my training provider. It's my school. We have a page or a group under the page for Campfire Academy. Yes, what is that group called?
Yeah, your son took over now, the principal.
Yeah, my son is doing the formal training now.
Okay.
Yeah, but we've got a group there, practical or exam prep, or yeah, I think it's called FGASA exam prep tribe or something like that. There's also a lot of material on there that you guys can go and look at. It's all for free. So please go on there and have a look at that. There's a couple of lectures on there that I did during COVID that you guys can look at. There's also little tests that you can write on there. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I have checked out your school as well, and I've been planning to email and ask about prices. So
okay, no, I would gladly help, Cornell.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of people from Namibia that I've trained already.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
I will stay in contact. Thanks for the number.
Okay, no problem. You guys are more than welcome to WhatsApp me if you have any questions or you're battling with a certain section, please, we've still got a week before the exam, week and a half before the exam. I would gladly help you guys. Okay. Anything else, guys and girls, men and women? Okay, if there's nothing, then I wish you a beautiful evening and happy studies, and I'm praying that you all make it.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks a lot
Great,
for the,
thank you so
for the
much.
help.
It's a big pleasure, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
I'll keep in contact with you. I'll keep in contact with you
Okay,
if I
Mike.
have any problems. All right.
Okay,
Thank
Mike.
you very much for
No
your time.
problem. Okay,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
I'm gonna end the session. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.